Alrighty, so welcome back to another video. Soul Exchange is out for the 10th time. This is the 10th edition of Soul Exchange. And as usual, I think all the spoilers are pretty much out there with the full list just before the actual Soul Exchange portal comes out. And as I said before, this is the 10th time it has been out. And I think over the recent Soul Exchange, I think they've done a slightly good job in putting some new heroes, not to say new heroes, I would say newer heroes than usual in the Soul Exchange, which made it a little bit better for some, I think catering mostly to the free-to-play and cheap-to-play players who wants to get something new for their roster. Now, in this Soul Exchange, now obviously these are not the best of the best heroes that you can get in the current meta, but I do believe for this particular edition there are some that are still very usable in the current meta and the current state of things. So if we look back, I mean, from the first, I think the first Soul Exchange, the first time it came out, I think it was clearly going with the flow of the meta. I think people were going with getting Skadi or getting Guardian Chameleon for Mythic Titans. The second one, I think it was mostly Madanov for some reason. I went with Lady of the Lake, I believe, because Lord Loki at that time, I kind of hedged that it will appear sometime or other in another portal, which it did for the Fated Summons. The third Soul Exchange was where I took Asterius. I think a lot of people are taking Quenelle or Director Zuri. The fourth Soul Exchange was the one with Alfrek and Ludwig, which I believe if you didn't pick either one of these, you were clearly losing out. The fifth Soul Exchange wasn't, I think it was still okay because that was the one with Milena, Arco, and Luina, so that was still okay. Had a weird one where Kara was in the 20 hero option, which was kind of weird, but at that time Kara was actually pretty good as a 4-turn taunt, so that was something. And then things started to go to hell a little bit with the 6th and the 7th one. I think the 6th one I went with, I think it was Guan Yu. Did I go with Guan Yu? Yeah, I think I went with Guan Yu for that, just to complete my collection of War of the Three Kingdom heroes, apart from Diao Chan. And then the 7th Soul Exchange was where I think it was like Hohenwerf, Quintin, Liu Bei, yeah, and then they had a repeat of Asterius as well, which was really weird. The 8th Soul Exchange was where Diao Chan, Costume White Rabbit, Garnet, Thetis, and I think Costume Athena was one of them. I went with Costume Jabberwock just because I liked Jabberwock at that time. I'm still hoping to get some Ethers to kind of limit break him. And then the 9th one was actually pretty good with Anne, Narcissa, and then Cupido as well. So here we are with the number 10. Soul Exchange number 10. Now I'm going to break down all the heroes that are available here, just to give you a little bit of perspective as to what to expect, and I'll then offer some choices which I think would be the best picks, regardless of roster. So we'll start with the 10 heroes required. So that means for each tier here, you have 3 different tiers. You will need to exchange 10 5-star heroes or 15 or 20 5-star heroes in order to choose one. And remember, you are only allowed to choose one, so make sure you make your decision properly and have carefully considered all the options. So let's look at 10 heroes. First one is Chakos Rock, Hero of the Month. I think, don't remember which month it was, but it's in 2021. Slow speed hero that didn't really do that much. I think it was pretty good, I think, at that time because of the immune to new status effect buffs for 4 turns. But then it didn't really shine that much, at least not in the top flight of meta. I think in the mid tier you do see Chakos Rock a little bit, but that was, that was pretty much it. It didn't really shine. Now, obviously, if you can double limit break him, he does have this mana boost, which will help him charge a bit faster. And he also has this mana buff on status ailment receive. You get 24% mana generation when he receives a status ailment or negative stack, which was actually pretty interesting as well. But overall, not really an interesting hero. And, it's only here because they needed to fill up the 10 slot with, Hero of the Months in case you, did not get the Hero of the Month at that time. The next one is Matilda. Matilda saw a huge nerf on her special skill that made her go from pretty usable to actually pretty useless. Because I think before the nerf, instead of 25% chance to refresh the duration, it was 50% chance, which was actually pretty good. I mean, 50% at the time, you get to refresh whatever ailment that is on the opponent, on the enemy, as long as they have the Fiend, which means that you can get fire damage to reset, bleed damage to reset, and you're getting heroes like Daroga, Jing, which have kind of high damage over time kind of effects. And having this Fiend, now there's only 25% chance, you don't get the chance to reset, especially heroes like Daroga or D'Artagnan, and the other one, it's I think it's Rain from Clash of Knights. Yeah, those have a short period of where the damage over time takes place, and you would want Matilda to kind of help to reset. Now, it's a pity that in yellow there isn't really much, I would say, in terms of renewing status ailments. The only one I can think of is maybe Shimmer Scale. So I think if pre-nerf Matilda was here, that would be awesome. I mean, they might just come up with a costume for Halloween, and then with the initial effect for Matilda. So maybe that's something to look forward. Maybe that's something to hedge if you're intending to build multiple teams with Matilda. Then this is something to consider. But yeah, other than that, I think pretty much, because she does give her own poison damage over time, which is pretty interesting as well, but no direct damage. Alright, the next one is Arabus. Now, Arabus, I think in terms of the Styx family, is one of the more useless ones, if I remember. Not to say useless in terms that you don't really use him, it's just a heavy sniper. So if you compare with Amphitrite, with Sharon, with Nyx, with what's the red guy? There's this red guy that I don't remember that hits all and gives like a status effect block, a buff block. Oh my god, how can I not remember that hero? But essentially, when Arabus first came out, I thought, yeah, sure, the first charge, you destroy all minions and then you deal a heavy snipe. Second charge, you destroy all minions, you deal a huge amount of damage, and you can't summon new minions. The problem is, in the current state of things, when you're dealing with Costume Diao-chan and Costume Zhuge Liang, all of them have this passive where they negate effects that prevent them from having minions, and their minions can't be destroyed. So Arabus's value kind of drops off there, because you don't really want to see minion heroes on defense when there's so many minion removers out there. So the only time you will actually see minion heroes is when you're using Costume Zhuge Liang and Costume Diao-chan, which by themselves prevent minions from being removed on that particular hero, so on Costume Diao-chan or Costume Zhuge Liang. So if you're intending to use Arabus to kind of kill Costume Diao-chan or Costume Zhuge Liang, well, it's not going to work well for you. So unless you're going to use him for destroying like killing the flanks or killing the wings, then that is something to consider. So I'm appreciative that they put this in the 10 slot instead of the 15 or 20, because I do believe the 15 and 20 are much better than Arabus as an option. But if you're looking to complete, especially since Styx Tower has not been scheduled to ever return, if you're looking to complete, maybe that's an option. Alright, Heeros is from the Cupid family. This one, it's more Mythic Titan friendly, I do believe, together with like Pangi, but then again, Pangi is pretty much phased out of Mythic Titans. They used to be a very good team where you can use Heeros in a war team, but the fact that he doesn't really deal that much damage, and I mean, you want to have the caster and nearby allies special skill deal an additional 40% damage. It's not really something that you would want now in the current state of things, just because of how much damage new heroes currently do. But the good thing about him is that he dispels buffs from like the target, so you can kind of use him to dispel, say a taunt, for example, if they have like forces or they have any other taunt. I think we see a lot of Grilkar, we see a lot of Ludwig as well, potentially for Rush Wars. Then you can kind of use Heeros, because he also has this where if you're dealing with a lot of Alfrags in Rush Wars in your tier of wars, you can consider using Heeros as well to dispel Ludwig and try to weather through it. The last 10 hero one is Sylvania. This is like Telluria's sister, I do believe. Interesting effect, honestly. I would have wished that she dealt damage to 3. That would work well together with the first line. The target and nearby enemies get negative 34% defense. They also get Forest Familiar Minion, and I believe only she will get this 40% HP and 40% attack Forest Guardian Minion, which by itself seems pretty interesting, but it's not really something that I would advise on getting, just because, first of all, it's a 2022 Hero of the Month, so it's neither here nor there. It's not too dated, but at the same time, the new stats on heroes are just so busted right now that she's pretty much just old. Like right now in 2024, you want to consider using Sylvania on defense. Your Sylvania get destroyed like immediately. There's not that many heroes right now that give burn damage as well. I mean, if you're looking at there's probably just Ray, and that's about it. I think people are using Ray. I don't think people are using Serendite or using Gravemaker these days, so you're not really in trouble. And you're not really going to get this Forest Guardian Minion to come up anyways, so not really an option that I would consider. So from the 10 heroes slot, I think one of the best will probably be the middle three, Matilda, Arabus, and Heeros. I'm going to slightly favor Heeros here just because he has a Dispel. And then I probably use Matilda just because she hits all, and the Fiends do be very annoying, especially with legendary troops on heroes. The Fiends actually take a bit more healing to get rid of. So this one is like absorbs 35% of the target's max health. Imagine if it's on if it's on someone with 4k HP, 35% of 4k HP, you need to heal about 1000 plus HP in order to get rid of the Fiends. So I believe that's better. That puts Matilda slightly over Arabus here. So number 1 Heeros, number 2 Matilda, number 3 Arabus, and then Chakos Rock and Sylvania. Well, I'll leave it up to you guys to decide if you want that. Okay, 15 heroes required, and there we go. There's Nyx as well here, which is interesting. So Nyx, the reason why I was continuing to use Nyx in my offense teams is because of this passive. It resists defense ailments. So we were in a meta where we were going against a lot of Pepper Flames, we were going against a lot of Prophet and Starwalkers as well. And her being able to resist those defense ailments meant that she would not be able to get the secondary effect damage from those defense ailments, which was really good. Also paired with the fact that she had damage reduction as her ether power, that kept her alive long enough for me to use her second charge, which is very interesting. 360% damage to all enemies, and all enemies get negative 34% defense for 3 turns. That's actually pretty good. More often than not, you'll be using the second charge, and then sometimes you'll get the third charge, which is interesting because you get 50% attack as well. So Nyx is actually kind of good. Now, obviously, I remember I remember the red hero now. The name is Hypnos. So for Nyx, I think right now the stats are a bit dated, but it's not to say that she's irrelevant in the current meta. I think charge heroes, especially when you deal with a lot of mana and a lot of Luna, you might want to consider using Nyx as well, because charge heroes kind of negate the fact that they are cutting mana, just because as long as you have even with a legendary troop on Nyx, you get this the charge allows you to, I think, surpass a certain charge. The first and second charge, you gain a little bit extra mana, so that the mana cut doesn't really affect. So Nyx is still someone that I would heavily consider, especially if you're trying to improve your purple team effects, because right now in the current meta of things, I think three match special skills are actually kind of good. Like as long as you can get 9 tiles, that's actually pretty good. You have the sustain from the legendary troops to keep them alive, or if you're running against like in mid tier or closer to the top tier, you'll have enough sustain. You just need to bring a couple extra healers, and then you can keep Nyx alive for that. So that's actually pretty good. So yeah, that's Nyx. Second one, Lao Hu. Lao Hu was one of the first Luna heroes to come out, together with Xiao Tu. I preferred Lao Hu over Xiao Tu just because Lao Hu was faster, and the snipe and heal was actually pretty good to keep him alive. And he also did this disable minion ability. So in an era where we were dealing with Lady of the Lake, Water Pipe, he was actually pretty okay. I mean, he could easily just snipe together with like I was running him together with like Zakina, or I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was, did I run him with Costume Leonidas? I don't remember, but yeah, Lao Hu was actually pretty decent. And I think now SG did go back on their word and kept reintroducing Lao Hu in different portals. So I remember there was one time they were saying that they were never going to repeat the same Luna heroes that were coming back, but I think they reneged on their words a little bit. So you could still get Lao Hu in other portals, but his utility has definitely dropped a bit. Now, at double limit break, he's actually quite good. If you can fire him while he's taking a bit of damage, if you can fire him within the first 6 turns, the increase in heal meant that once he fires, you could actually heal him back to full health, which was actually kind of decent. So that's something to consider, but I think usability wise, he has definitely dropped a lot. Barkley. So now Barkley is part of the Mighty Pets, and it was someone that I didn't really think it was that useful back then, just because of how random his damage was going to be, because he deals 300 damage to the target, so one target is going to get it for sure, and then it'll be 2 random enemies whereby the missile fiend was going to hit. And the missile fiend, when it dies, they deal nearby enemies get 500 damage. Now I used to downplay this hero a lot, just because of how you can't target the other 2 effects, but it's pretty good when you're considering that if they have a taunt up and you just fire Barkley into that, chances are when they die, when that taunt dies, and the fiends are on him, the fiends deal 1500 damage to nearby as well. So that's pretty much gonna kill off whoever it is that the taunt was being placed in between. Now with legendary troops, now obviously that's gonna change a little bit. I'm not sure how viable this will be, but it's still pretty decent, I think. So something to consider. Maybe if you want to improve your red teams, you can kind of use Barkley. In fact, I would consider Barkley to be much better than Arabus, honestly. So that's something to consider. I think he'll be really good as well. Not the best, but a viable option for sure. Miriam and Midnight. Oh, the glory days when Miriam was the meta, and then they decided, hey, you know what? Let's just fully destroy her and make her useless. So really bad right now. I think I don't remember what the nerf was, but I do believe that she initially, the minions were healing, and she had a healing buff as well. So that made her almost unkillable at some point. You would have to shift the meta around. Like, I think we had to come up with different strategies in order to deal with Miriams, especially when you're facing like 25 to 26 Miriams in a war. We needed to adapt, and we needed to provide to bring different kind of teams to go against it. And this was where Lao Hu was kind of useful, Xiao Tu was kind of useful as well. And then when she got nerfed, everything just went to hell. People were spending a lot of resources into double limit breaking her, into making sure that she was part of the tank. And I was pretty lucky that I wasn't part of that train where I got Miriam at midnight, because I didn't manage to pull her at all during the Halloween season. So I was running a different tank at that time. I think I was running, I don't even remember what I was running. Probably it wasn't physical, it was something else. I don't remember. I think it was Thalassa, probably. I'm not sure. So it was pretty sad to see Miriam just like pretty much die out. I was using Krampus at that time, yes. So I was using Krampus together with like the War of the Three Kingdom family. And then, Miriam, you could use her together with the War of the Three Kingdom family as well. And she'll be absolutely disgusting until they nerfed her to the ground, and then she's just useless right now. So I will not recommend getting Miriam at midnight unless you're trying to hedge and hope that during Halloween season, during the Halloween portal, they somehow come up with the Miriam costume, which if she returns to her former glory, I think that will be interesting. Because if you don't have Nautica right now, or you don't have Poffit, and if Miriam comes up with a costume that brings her back to her former self, then that'll be interesting. Then really, I think Miriam will be a good option. But if you see, the problem with picking Miriam now is that if you're going to try to pull for a costume later on, I don't think there is a logic to have duplicate Miriams. You don't really want to use Miriam for offense. There are not that many teams that can use Miriam. So that will be another point to consider as well. Would you want to have a duplicate Miriam? Can you use duplicate Miriams in an offense team? It will have to be, how you theory craft your offense teams and how well she will be positioned in that as well. So to me, I don't think it's an option here to pick Miriam. Like, I would rather pick like Nyx, Lao Hu, or Barkley over Miriam. And even the last one, Queen Anne. Queen Anne is one of the major taunts that have a 6-turn taunt apart from Ludwig. And she's almost having the same utility as Ludwig. 44% mana generation for 6 turns is crazy on defense. And they get 65% defense buff as well. And the caster regenerates HP. So she's basically a taunt that can stay alive for a very, very long time. Especially in Rush Wars, where she can, if she fires once, she definitely has the potential to fire again. And she's just helping the whole team generate enough mana to kind of use their special skills. So I'm actually quite impressed that Queen Anne is actually in the 15 hero slot. Really one of the premier choices here that I would consider, just because of how strong the utility is. And if you're trying to theory craft this for normal wars, you can kind of use Queen Anne together with heroes like Myoin Ni, which provides her the initial mana generation which she requires to be at average speed. You can use heroes like Toxicandra or Costume Ariel in order to boost her mana speed up to make sure that she can fire when you need her to fire at the most optimal moment. So that's interesting as well, Queen Anne. And I think she is by far the best hero in this 15 hero slot. Like, I would place Queen Anne as the first choice here. And then second to me will probably be Nyx, and then third will be Barkley. Toss up between Nyx and Barkley. I prefer Nyx because I'm biased towards her utility in my teams. I don't really plan to use Barkley at all. So, I'm heavily skewed towards using Nyx. So really, really strong options here. Really, really happy that they have given these kind of options to the players in order to choose. No doubt, again, being dated, but at least it's something new. Alright, now let's look at the 20 heroes required. Costume Guardian Panther. this is by far one of the best options here. Right now in the current meta, now obviously with the new heroes popping up here and there, Costume Guardian Panther has seen better days. Flashbacks to the time where she was first released and everybody was running triple Guardian Panther defenses, and even running triple Guardian Panther on offense as well. That was insane. I do believe a lot of the 7DD heroes has probably like 4 to 5 Costume Panthers as well, because they at that time they were so good when paired together with like Miriam, and I think it was Miriam and the meta after that. Don't really remember. Yeah, so Guardian Panther was like really, really strong as well. So that was something. And they did improve the costume bonuses. Right now is 27% attack, 25% defense, 40% health, and 5% mana bonus. But they did reduce the defense against dark. So the elemental defense down has reduced from 50s. I believe they started with like 56 and then it slowly dropped down to 34, and then they kind of reduced the damage a little bit. But I like the immune to new status effect buff. And in fact, right now, the current meta, if you see players like J-Force and a couple of the other YouTubers as well, when they stream their war hits, when they post videos on their war hits, you'll see them using one Costume Panther and then one regular sight. So the regular sight dispels, and then you can use the costume version to make sure that they don't get any more buffs in the future. So pretty good. I like that fast speed as well. So this is an all-rounder. You can kind of use Guardian Panther for like even for Titans, even for Monster Island, just because she hits all, and you can use it for war, even for defense as well. I do believe she can still be viable. So yeah, one of the very good options here. Jaun. I remember when Jaun first came out, everybody was like, damn, this guy could be a damn good wing as well. Being annoying with that stupid super elemental tiles, that change in the power gems, that was stupidly annoying to see. And the fact that he was very fast and he was dealing kind of like decent damage. And remember that at that time, and we are still currently in a phase where people were using blue tanks. All ice enemies get negative 34% defense for 3 turns. That's actually pretty good. So you kind of like make sure they get defense down, and then you can kind of burst through whatever stats that they have. So Jaun was actually kind of interesting here. I have one max myself. I didn't bring him the second limit break, but I know a lot of people have brought Jaun the second limit break and are using Jaun on defense and offense. So this is something to consider as well. Although he is right now being overshadowed by the newer super elemental heroes. I mean, there's like Iron Maw, Grilka. Those kind of deal a little bit more damage and a little bit more utility, I would feel. But Jaun has always been an all-rounder, so that's nothing wrong in choosing Jaun if you really still want him. The third one is Fexa. So this previously they had Narcissa, now it's Fexa. Fexa is a bard. Now, I like the fact that she gives critical chance and she gives attack bonuses, and then the duration of buffs reset for all your allies. So if you can time her properly, you can kind of reset your taunts, you can kind of reset your heal over time, your attack stat, your attack buffs, critical chances, and all that. And she heals quite a bit of health as well. Apart from that, being a bard means that if you bring unique heroes that are unique in terms of their family into an offense team, you can kind of make sure that Fexa gives the plus 5% mana bonus, which is actually very, very, very important right now, especially because legendary troops are giving less mana generation as compared to the to mana or magic troops previously. So Fexa is a pretty good option here. I'm actually quite surprised that they put Fexa here, all things considered. I was kind of hoping that they put Riz instead of Fexa, but Fexa is a very good option. Now, being average speed is not as good as Riz, but she heals way more than Riz does. In fact, I would put Fexa and Belladonna right now as two of the good bards that you can use in tandem with the legendary troops that you're procuring and you're leveling. So Fexa is definitely a huge option here as well. The fourth one, Tinsel. Now, The reason why I feel that they're putting Tinsel in here is for two things. One, Tinsel is one of the only heroes right now that can trigger the secondary effect from Prophet, Starwalker, and Pepperflame, which is why they're probably putting this here to hedge, to make sure that people have an option to continue using Prophet and Starwalker. Not so much for Pepperflame, just because it's a different color, but I believe you can make it work as well. I think that's the reason why they put Tinsel in. That's the primary reason. And then the second reason is because she might come up with a costume at the end of the year when it's the Christmas season. And multiple Tinsels, let me tell you. I remember there was a war team that I was seeing with double Tinsel and double Tinsel Rex. Now that was quite a while back, but when the costume comes out, the stats will be renewed. She'll get a much better stat line, and that might make her actually usable. So that is something to consider. There's always been that argument, and there's always been that complaints of how are we going to continue using heroes like Prophet and Starwalker when you can't trigger their secondary effects. Well, this is your option. This is Tinsel. So this is something to consider for those who have multiple Prophets and multiple Starwalkers. If you want to continue using them outside of Equalizer, then you can consider taking Tinsel here, leveling her up, maxing her, and then hedging to maybe they might come up with a costume for Tinsel at the end of the year, and then you try to pull for that, and then you have yourself a pretty decent attack team still. That's something to consider. The final one, Green Knight. Now, Green Knight, when they first came out, it was an explosion of it was very double-edged. Some people liked him, some people didn't. The defense ailment is actually pretty low. The damage is actually pretty low as well. But the thing was, if you kill him while he had his buff on, when he comes back revived, he deals quite a bit of damage as well. I'm in tenterhooks about this. I do see a lot of comments on like how Green Knight would be the best option within this. I'm not too sure about that, because when you're bringing an offense team, you're trying not to essentially let them fire their special skills. So if you're trying to kill your team off, I think it's very counterintuitive, because again, you can't control who the target, who the enemy is going to hit, who the AI is going to hit. So they might not even hit into your Green Knight, and then you're in trouble, because if Green Knight's buff goes off, then it's just a sitting duck there. So if he had a taunt, for example, if Green Knight had a taunt, similar to someone like Ziwang Mu, for example. So if they had like a taunt on them, then that'll be very interesting. But Green Knight, yeah, I'm just not convinced. Like, I think Queen Anne is so much better than Green Knight. Like, if you're trying to get a green, like if you really have a lot of tonics and you don't want anything else but a green from Soul Exchange, I think Queen Anne is a much better option compared to Green Knight, just because of how much utility she gives while you're still alive. I mean, what's the point of trying to kill off your own attack team, right? So I'm actually really surprised that they put Anne on 15 and Green Knight on 20, which is very interesting. So in the 20 hero slot, I'll say the best option is still probably costume Panther, and then close second will be Fexa, and the rest of them are all on the same tier. So I think it's up to you how you want to shape your roster. Now again, I have to remind everyone, what I pick and what anybody else picks, it's based on the roster that they have. So do not follow blindly what other people are picking. Do not ask. Like I think one of the weirdest questions I see when Soul Exchange always comes around is people asking, what's the best pick from this Soul Exchange? And there's no definite answer, because it all depends on your roster. Like, if someone were to come to you and say, oh, Fexa is probably the best option out here, just because she's a bard and she does all this nonsense. But if you have, if your war teams already have the prerequisite mana breakpoints so much so that a Bard is not really useful here, and you're actually lacking firepower, then shouldn't you pick someone like Tinsel or Costume Panther or Green Knight instead of Fexa, another healer? You can't have too many healers, sure, but if you're looking to improve your offense score, then shouldn't you pick someone that hits rather than someone that heals? So it's always this, there's always this conundrum, right? That and it really depends on how your roster is shaped. If you can benefit from using Nyx, then why are you picking Costume Panther if Nyx is the one that helps your roster the most? It really has to depend on each other's roster. Everybody's roster is unique. Unless you're a heavy spender, then you shouldn't even be watching this video, because you probably wouldn't need to choose anything from here. But for free to play, cheap to play, and borderline dolphins, I mean, this kind of soul exchange dictates how you can improve your roster by a little bit, because some of these heroes here can actually help you a lot. So look at your roster, figure out your war teams. I think the best advice would be, look at your war teams, find which of the war teams are the ones that are failing the most in wars, and figure out how you can improve them by using this soul exchange. That's something to always consider. Like say you have a war team that hasn't gotten a one shot in a while, and you want to change that. What hero here that you pick will be able to help you achieve, turning that war team from failing to actually winning? I think that's a much better question than what's the best pick out of here, because it's so subjective, right? So anybody who tells you that, hero X or hero Y or hero Z is the one that is the best pick out of this soul exchange, that's complete bullshit. So, look at your roster, figure out, do you want any of them in your defense? Do you want any of them in your war attack teams? Do you want something to help you in Mythic Titan? Do you want something to help you in any other areas of the game? And make your choice from there. Don't fall blindly into the fact that, someone tells me that, Costume Panther is the number one pick here, and therefore I should pick Costume Panther. And then you find out you don't have Tabbers, you don't have Purple Aethers, and you don't have you don't essentially have a war team to put Costume Panther in, because mind you, Costume Panther works well as dupes. Costume Panther is available on Fated Summons, and if you didn't pick Costume Panther in Fated Summons, you didn't want to pick her on Fated Summons, then what's the point of having one? I think a single Costume Panther might not work as well as dupes, as duplicate, as double, Costume Panthers. You might as well go with Fexa. And if you have Prophet or Star Walker, then Tinsel, obviously, because that's going to help you trigger the secondary effect, right? And then if you want to complete your Avalon, for some reason you want to have a good Avalon team, then pick Green Knight. Or if you need a green taunt, if you don't have Ludwig, if you didn't pick Ludwig in the previous soul exchange, back when Ludwig was available, and you wanted an auto taunt to be in your rush war defense, then Queen Anne suddenly becomes something that you can heavily consider to pick and level and use in your war defense. So these are the kind of examples that I would consider, and I would really urge the players to consider before making your decision. Remember, soul exchange is 3 days long. You have 3 days to make a decision. That doesn't mean you just think for like 10 minutes on the first day and then just pick something. Take your time and think. Like if you really need this hero to be leveled up almost immediately, then sure, pick it on the first day. But otherwise, take some time and choose. So alright, as for me, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make my decision right now, and I can see that I'm in trouble right now. I might just get disconnected. Oh, I don't. Okay, 4, 5, 6, 7, because I already have her. 8, 9. Oh, fuck right now. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Oh, damn. 17, 18, 19, Fuck me, I don't have enough. Okay, let's go and see. Let's go and see what we have. Oh my god. Let's hold on, let me see if I have enough space to do anything. Okay, let's see whether we can get at least one 5-star from here, right? I have like quite a bit, hopefully. Yay! We got one. Justice. Alright, Justice is going into the pool of heroes I don't need. Yeah, I don't really need Aries or Musashi, even though I don't have duplicate copies of that. Don't really feel the need to use them. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Alright. Okay, so my pick is going to be Costume Guardian Panther this time. I do have enough tabards, so I'm going to level one of it almost immediately. And then we'll see what I do with the second one. I probably need to wait a bit to get the second one up, but once I have two of them up, I'll probably be using regular Panther and Costume Panther in a war team, which can help, you know. It stops, the one good thing about Costume Panther as well is that it stops ordeal as well, so that's something that I want to consider using, especially when we're facing a lot of ordeals as well recently, so that's a good option. So that's who I'm going to pick. Again, I really need to emphasize, decide for yourselves, look at your roster, don't follow what other people are picking, just pick for yourself. There we go. So if for those of you who don't know, if you pick the costume version, you'll get the regular version as well, so that means I now have two. I can definitely level them up. So that's it for me. Now I hope this was informative enough, and good luck with making your choices for soul exchange. Remember, soul exchange for heroes, don't exchange your own soul for this game, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. GG.